The lighting's kind of bad, but what's a girl to do? 6 signs that made me more seriously consider taking a gap year. I think when you start the college process and people are taking gap years, first of all, it's not that common. So if you're considering it, you're like, ugh, like no one's doing that. I don't know. And also, it's just quick. Like the expected timeline is high school straight to college, get a job. And anytime that people like go away from that timeline, it's sort of a thing when it doesn't really need to be. So this is kind of what made me start to like really think about it and why I ultimately considered and chose to take gap years when it was relevant to me. The first reason was because I felt like I was doing everything right, but I felt nothing. Like I was academically driven. I had straight A's all through high school. I was doing all the extracurriculars. I applied to a bunch of colleges. I wasn't excited about any of them. I didn't even have a dream school. I got into really amazing universities and didn't feel any excitement about it or any pride about it. And I'm like, I literally worked so hard my whole life. I've been so disciplined. I worked so hard academically to get here, and I don't care. I'm like, I don't want to go. And I wasn't excited. And to me, that was like my biggest and first indication of like, okay, what's going on here? Like, why do I feel this type of way about education? I've always been oriented towards education. I've always loved learning. I always loved applying myself. So the fact that I was like intuitively just like really not into it was my first big sign of like, hey, something is off here. I don't feel inspired about this. And I like being a person that does my 110% best at everything I do. And the fact that I didn't feel any drive towards college or pursuing my upper education at that point in time, like right when I turned 18, was a signal like something is wrong. The second reason was like I was 18. I lived a relatively sheltered life up until that point. I was a late bloomer. I never really partied in high school. I was always very focused. I grew up a super competitive gymnast, so I was always disciplined. I was either working hard and studying so I could get good grades, or I was in the gym training. Like I trained so many hours. Like I would go to school all day for 8 hours, and then I would train for 4 hours, and then I would go home, do homework, go to bed. And that was my life for so long that when I turned 18 and it was time to go to school, I was like, I want to see the world. I want to travel. I have a lot of family that lives internationally. I felt like I had no connection to where my family was from. My mom's from the Caribbean. I wanted to go live with my grandma and like see what it was like there and see what her life was like there. And I just craved traveling. I wanted to go places. I've always been pretty adventurous and an explorer. And I think right after high school, I had that drive even more than ever. And that was kind of where my natural curiosity lied. I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I feel excited to do that. And I think it's easy to be like, oh, everyone loves to travel. Now I'm 25, I've traveled a lot. Like, I don't feel an urge to travel at this point in my life. I'll probably travel for the rest of my life here and there, but like, I don't have that same urgency to do it. And because I had this urgency to travel, that's what I was like, interesting. Maybe I should act on this now while I have that energy. And I really had a great time after doing that. Anyways, but I want to talk about the signs. I don't want to talk about the after. The third sign, I made a list for this video, so there's structure. I always just rant and like think on the spot. I just made a video about UCLA, and then I literally was thinking on the spot, and I was like, wow, I totally could have like made bullet points. I had no idea why I was going to school or what I wanted to study, and had no direction. Okay, yeah. I really felt like I was just going to college because that's what everyone around me was doing. That's what everyone told me to do. That's what my parents were just expecting me to do. And I had no context. I never thought about it critically. I never was like really examining, why do I want to go to school? Why do I want to get an upper education? What career do I want? And because I never thought of those things, it felt very much like I was just being funneled into a path that wasn't mine. Like I didn't decide this for myself. And now all of a sudden, like I'm making a huge next step, moving to a different place, taking out loans and like financially adding stress to my life or something. I just had no understanding for why I was doing that, and no natural drive to do it either. So that was my third sign. I was like, this feels like just something that's being pushed on me, and I don't know why particularly. There's a lot of value of education, and like I loved my college experience, but like in that moment when I was 18, I felt very much like it was just the thing to do and not the thing that I wanted to do. 4, I wanted to set a financial foundation for myself. Yes, okay. I came from a really hardworking my phone fell. I came from a really hardworking family, and I really understood financial stress from my situation growing up. And I had my first job when I was 16. I worked at a juice shop. It was a smoothie shop in Dunedin, Florida, really close to the beach. Great first job, so much fun. But once I started making money, it was my little part-time job, minimum wage job, I started understanding like, I started understanding what it felt like to like be making money and having money and spending money and saving money, and all of those contexts were intriguing to me because I felt like my family never talked about money except for being stressed about money. So I wanted to learn about money and I wanted to learn how to make money, and I liked what it felt like to make money, but my mom was always very cautious of being super pro education. She was like, don't get caught just being a server and making good money right away without going to school. That was always her perspective, which is valid, but I was curious because I felt like there was this whole unspoken narrative around money. Everyone talks about money and stresses about money and wants money. And I was young and I was wanting to learn how to make it, and I wanted to work hard and I wanted to feel like I earned money. And my second gap year, like the first one was more travel oriented, but then I took another one later in the middle of college that was very financially focused, and I ended up learning about investing. I ended up saving some money. I ended up setting money aside, and it was very fruitful for me in setting me up for later in life. I paid off all my debt. I went back to school with less financial stress because I had set a financial foundation for myself. And going into my gap year, or like when I was considering a gap year, I was like, I feel like I need some structure around money, or I need to learn about my relationship with money. I need to create a money mindset that is conducive to my success. I do not have that right now, and I need to build that skill. That was a big reason. That was a sign that I was like, okay, do I need to take a break before I go to school? Do I need to take a break before I go back to school? What number was that? That was number 4. Number 5, I need to experiment with different jobs to get data on what type of work I like. I don't know why I'm yelling. I felt like I had absolutely no idea what type of job I wanted. My dad is a business owner now. He's in the restaurant industry. And I felt like I had this interest in business. I think I was like, maybe I'd like to start a business one day, but I didn't know how. And I didn't know that was possible at that point. I was 18, like I didn't know anything about anything. And I felt like I had no context for what type of work environments I enjoyed, and I wanted to experiment. So I started working entry-level jobs in every industry. I think I've had over 25 different jobs in like 16 different industries, which is a lot because I felt like I liked a lot of things, but I didn't love anything. Every job I had, it was not like, wow, this is the one, I feel so passionate about this one thing. It was like, oh, I liked this about it, but there was this things of this, like other aspects I didn't like. And for me, it was really expansive to go out into the world and get work experience and be in those settings, be around people that were above me or higher up in their career and learn from them. So that was another sign, because I was like, I have no idea what I want to do. And I feel like if I just got on the ground and worked, I could like at least get some context to experience like what type of environment do I even lean towards. The last sign. This is not necessarily a good sign or like one that you should influence you. Look at the sunset. Oh my gosh, there's a pretty sunset. You see? Everybody told me not to, and I'm naturally stubborn and wanted to do something different. I felt like I was doing it just because people told me to. The minute that I started considering a gap year and I started talking about it with people, I felt like everyone told me not to. They were like, you're not going to go back to school. You're just going to like work and never go back. And everyone was kind of everyone in my direct life at least was a little discouraging about it. And that made me really interested. And I don't think because like it's a little pick me for to say like, oh, everyone told me not to and I did it anyways just to be different. That's not necessarily the right mindset to have, but that was the energy I was in. I was like, what is out here in this unknown path or alternative path or slightly less common path that everybody over here seems so afraid of? And to me, as someone who's kind of naturally an explorer, I feel like I'm experience oriented at heart. I love exploring, I love wandering, I love being experimental, I love getting data from various tiny nooks of the world by like putting myself in unconventional situations. I was interested in that. So yeah, those are the signs. My dad's coming and I have to fit in the video because I'm gonna be embarrassed. those were the signs that kind of made me be like, maybe I should consider taking a gap year. And I always wanted to go to school. I always wanted to get my degree. And I did. And I did both. And I think that you can do both. You can do everything you want. And you can do it in the right timing that's meant for you. You don't have to follow the path that they try to sell you. You have to trust your timing, be at your own pace, and do what's right for you. And just be confident that you can get what you want out of life by doing the things that you know will get you to where you want to be. And by following your natural curiosity and being agentic and having agency over your outcomes. Being like, I have a responsibility for my experience. I have to be able to be action biased and aware of myself enough to like learn about myself, to orient myself in the direction I want to go. And I think ultimately for me, like that's a lot what the gap year process was too. It was just like learning about myself, getting the data I needed to be like, I don't know, just get information so I could like see what I was like in different contexts, see what I liked, see what I didn't like, see what like really pissed me off, see what really excited me. And yeah, so the 6 signs, those are the 6 signs that made me consider it. I'll talk more about these things like in detail and like more of my gap year experience. I think I just wanted to like make a video about like what were the sensations that made me inclined to consider it in the first place. Now I'm rambling and just talking to talk. Okay. Goodbye. I love you. I appreciate all of you. I'm so grateful anytime people like my video or give me feedback on my video, even if it's a negative comment. One time I had a video go viral and I got a lot of hate for it, and that hate was so productive because I felt like I learned so much about myself and like how I respond to other people's opinions and like being confident in my voice and like confident in what it is I have to say while still being like aware and open-minded to like there's so many different perspectives, and anybody contributing to the conversation is useful. So love you guys. Have a good day. Watch the sunset if you can.